Hey everybody, I'm Tara from Crooked Row, and today we wanted to remind you about great ways to compost. So we've made compost videos before, but I think that we lose track of how many things that we have that is actually extremely useful compost. Right behind me, or beside me, is where we keep our sheep through the winter. And in particular, right here. So this pen is where our sheep stay through the winter, and we have a little sheep house that we built for them, and right here is where they get fed. And so all winter long we throw hay in here for them. And so as you can see, over a couple of years, what has happened is it is very thick right here. You can see as Elijah is pulling that up. Let me zoom in. Elijah, show them the compost, how incredibly composted this is. Take that big chunk.
That's dirt.
But it's not really. It's compost. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful compost. But if you bring it here for a sec, you can actually see through the shreds, like here, this is all hay that is mostly composted, okay, but not completely. So Elijah is taking this opportunity to go ahead and pull up this area with the fork, and then he's putting it in the area right here, which I'm going to go around so you can see it better. So here is the beginning of our compost pile, and I say beginning because we know that this drastically reduces down. But so here you can see that what we're piling, all this beautiful composted material from the sheep pen, which it's not fully composted, I want to point out. That's why I was showing you like the shreds in it. It is still composting. And so this whole area right here gets filled at least 3 or 4 feet high, full of like I was about to say before, this is weeds, and underneath all of that is weeds, healthy weeds, nothing that is going to propagate or anything that had disease. We burn that. This is healthy weeds right here. That is the hay and manure from the sheep and urine from the sheep. We also have actually 2 more spots that we'll be taking and bringing over here, and I'm going to show you those. So right over my shoulder you should see my beloved cow Peach's pen, and her daughter Cream was in this pen as well. But as you can see, the pen is empty, and we sold Cream like a month ago, maybe 2 months ago now. And so the pen is starting to grow up. But if we go around this gate, you will see the most luscious soil ever. And this is where Cream and Peaches stood. You can see their paths over here too. Although it's not as wonderfully black as it is over here. But this whole area, they would poop and pee a lot right here. But also, it's back to that same old thing again. Right here on these pallets is where we would put their hay. And they would kind of drag their hay all over here. You can see pieces of their hay in this. And so, all of this... we're going to be, we're going to leave some of it. You want your ground to be healthy, but we're going to take all of this beautiful nutrition and things that our wonderful animals gave us. But we have one more spot to look at. I don't know if I'm going to be able to compete with these noisy breast chickens. Anyway, we are in the old orchard behind our barn, and this is where we have our old hay from last year. The animals won't be eating this. There's barely any nutrition in it, but composted hay makes wonderful compost. And so we will be taking all of this, and actually if that pile becomes too big, we're going to create another pile so that we can start having, you know, we utilize a ton of compost, and so we want to utilize every opportunity that we can to utilize it, the compost that actually comes from this farm. So another thing that we use is we try to, right before fall, we try to clean out the chicken coop, because we do the piling method where we just kind of rake their bedding and then add more bedding, and so we get a ton of pee and poop from the chickens from that. But we want to take that in the fall so that it can go ahead and compost over winter, so that we have it for our great spring beds. I love it. But I actually lied. So sorry. There's one more, and then I'll be done with composting. So I feel like a portion of our great compost comes from this little secret right here. Now, let me tell you why. So one thing that is for sure that we noticed a huge jump in the richness and the worms in our compost was when we started adding our organic coffee grinds to the compost. So we also have worms, and I'm gonna make a video on that soon too. I try to every year because I want to encourage people to keep worms. It's very easy, and they give you the most beautiful, rich compost that is perfect to put on your garlic. It's actually perfect to put in any compost, but worms are a must, but that's a whole other topic. I do not put worms in my huge compost that I just showed you. So, but what we do put in there is our kitchen scraps. And the biggest part of our kitchen scraps is coffee grounds. I mean, because my husband is obsessed with drinking coffee. It's literally his favorite hobby. Coffee drinking is, for sure. And so we have loads. I mean, we could probably fill a 5-gallon bucket a week. I know that's kind of scary. Maybe not that much. We could probably fill a 2-gallon bucket a week. And that does include some of the water to get it out of the carafe as well. But anyway, it definitely encourages worms when you put in coffee grounds. And so it also has, you can put coffee grounds in just about anything, whether you have acidic or alkaline soil. So it's a very like rich compost, yet it helps both types of soil. So I can, if you don't drink coffee or you don't have enough grounds to put in yours, go to a coffee house and they will give you their grounds. I know people who have done this, and it's such a good idea too. I've even thought about doing it as well, but we're organic growers, and so it would be really hard because most coffee houses sell both. They don't just sell organic. And so it would be really difficult to ask them and feel confident that they're actually, you know, only putting organic coffee grounds in the bucket that we would choose. But I would anyway, I would go ahead and ask if your local place, if you can get their grounds, because coffee grounds really are, I think, a secret to the success. We also, every fall, and this will be yet another video that we do, but we also go and we collect leaves. Now we have lots and lots and lots of leaves here because we have about 1,000,000,001 trees, but in the city people want to get rid of their leaves. We want our leaves to be where they sit and they feed our trees, so we don't want our own leaves. So my uncle lives in the city, and every year we go in and we take his leaves and we bag him for him, and it's a mutual thing for us both. We get the leaves and he gets the leaves gone. So we also have many times where we have gone through the city and we have seen where people have their leaves bagged and just on the side of the road. I mean, they're putting them out for the garbage to come and get them. So we will stop. Sometimes we'll ask, like if if the people are there, we'll ask if it's okay if we go ahead and take their leaves. We have never one single time have someone mind that we took their leaves. But in that case, it's already raked and bagged for you. And so we take truckloads, I mean truckloads of leaves, and we bring them out here. And sometimes we use it, like you can run over it with a lawnmower and it will crumble it up, and you can use that as a mulch, or I think some people try to call it no, scratch that. But some people use it as a mulch. You can also just put it in great big piles and let it become something called leaf mold. But leaf mold, especially after a year or two, it becomes this deep, rich compost. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. But if you want to take some of those leaves, especially, I mean, most fallen leaves that you get are no longer going to have the chlorophyll in them, and that's usually what is that thing that helps your compost pile really get cooking. So if you can get arborists to give you leaves that are actually green, or even the wood chips that actually have the leaves in them, that's even better. But these are just natural ways to have a great compost pile that's just going. So you don't have to have animals, you don't have to have, you know, all this manure that you're working with. We have had years where we either cut back so much on the animals or we had none, and we still had huge compost piles. So if you live in the suburbs, or you live in a place where you can't have a compost pile, I mean, the bins, the compost bins, the tumblers where it's like, I don't know, some of them are 25 gallon, some of them are 100 gallon, but they're just these plastic bins where you put your compost in, and then it just has this crank where you crank it. And we have had one of those before when we lived in the city, and it gives you beautiful compost. But my big thing is, this is something that is so easily doable for most people. So if I could encourage you to keep your leaves, keep any kind of manure that you have from animals. I mean, with the exception of cats and dogs, there's too many pathogens in those. But like if you have sheep or goats or chickens or you know, cattle and rabbits, rabbit manure is fantastic. And it's really, rabbit manure is really good because you can almost use it instantly. It doesn't even have a lot of breaking down to do. But utilize your manures, utilize your waste from the kitchen, you know. And it's kind of neat too, because if you can get into this cycle of utilizing something to its ultimate fulfillment, or its ultimate use even, it's so, what's the word I'm looking for? It's so, it feels like such an achievement, because we tend to be a wasteful society. And so this lets you see how we actually do work in this amazing cycle. Like, God has set us up on this amazing cycle. And so part of this is not just like, you know, being green or whatever. This is, I think, a fulfillment of God showing us that everything, He has created everything to take care of itself. And so, and with our intervention, with human intervention, which He intended, you know, it allows us to not have waste. I don't think God likes waste. So that is yet another composting video that's slightly different, but I just want to encourage you that as we move into fall, this really is the time to start doing these maintenance things, but get your compost piles going now, because you're going to need them in late winter and early spring, and they do need time to cool off at some point. So remember, if we can make our own compost, anybody can. Thank you. Bye.